Good evening, everyone. Good evening to another episode of Off Label Talks. Today's going to be absolutely amazing, but let's see who's online. Let's see who's watching. Let's see. I'm really excited for today. You know, I always say this. I always say that I'm really excited for today's podcast show. So we're going to have a lot of fun today. And today's topic, of course, is on resilience. Resilience is so important. You know, on Off Label, we talk about leadership, we talk about being solution providers, we talk about being people who just resolve problems. We don't complain, but we make things happen. So I'm really excited for today, but let's just get straight into it. Um, let's just get straight into it. Just got somebody doing a bit of content for me, okay? So don't worry if you see somebody around. It's very important. Content is king in this day and age. So resilience is a huge topic because as healthcare professionals, we go through a lot in a day at work. We're met with difficult patients, we're met with difficult colleagues, we're met with difficult situations. We see many problems that have to be resolved. How does one remain stable in mind when bad things happen? That's resilience. And you know what? We hear the word resilience, and often we think about somebody who can endure a lot, somebody that can take a lot on, right? But actually, I don't really think that resilience is about how much you can take. I actually think it's about what happens in your mind when life doesn't go the way that you want it to go. So that's what I think resilience is. When things don't go your way, when things don't go as expected, what's going on in your mind? Because guess what? Resilience isn't pretending that you're fine. It's not about never getting tired. It's not about never being disappointed. It's not about tolerating unhealthy situations. No, it's about the ability to recover, to adapt, and continue. So, is your ability to bounce back when bad things happen? Do you have the strength of mind enough to recover and recover quickly? That's resilience. So, a resilient person can have an absolutely awful week, by the way. A resilient person can go through the worst of days, but they don't allow those things to push them down, to keep them down. They bounce back and they keep moving. And you know, over the last couple of weeks, I've been talking about, you know, leadership, not being a complainer. You see a problem, you're probably the one that's supposed to solve it. You're not just going to be moaning away to your colleagues that what's happening at work is not ideal. You're going to actually sit down and think, how can I solve that problem? How can I make sure that what looks terrible actually is amazing? That's a resilient person. But you know what? Everything actually starts off in your mind. And actually, I'm going to take a pause because I want to see who's online. I've not yet been able to see who's online. So I want to see, I've got my little laptop here. So I just want to see who's online. So say hello because I want to make sure that I'm not just talking to myself. But even if I am, somebody's going to watch this later. But I hope you love what's going on in the background. I know the eclipse is happening right now. And I just hope it's not going to suddenly go dark on us. But uh, resilience um, doesn't just happen. Everything actually starts off in your mind. So before resilience actually becomes a behavior, it's often a mental battle. Two different people can go through the same thing. I want you to note this. Two different people can experience exactly the same or similar setbacks. One thing that my mentor told me was that your problem is never just your problem. Somebody has gone through the same problem that you've gone through. But guess what's the difference? Is that one person thinks, this proves I'm not capable. Say something happened and I don't know, you didn't pass an exam, because I think we've used the exam as an example a lot. But for example, you didn't pass an exam. One person's going to think, I'm not capable, right? And another person's going to think, do you know what? It didn't work out this time. What can I learn? That difference in mindset, it says a lot about the resilience that you've built. And actually, resilience is something that is practiced over time. Lots of people think that it's only when you encounter a problem, then you quickly try and gather resilience. But no, resilience is built over time. So it's the same event, but different meaning, different response. How do you respond to crisis? How do you respond to problems? How do you respond? that you are able to push past a problem and look at the what we call silver lining in the problem. So that's quite important, because sometimes the event itself isn't what actually keeps us stuck, but it's our mind. It's what we tell ourselves about that event in um in essence. So your thoughts are not just your thoughts are not just in isolation. Your thoughts are not just in isolation. Resilience is built up. You encounter a crisis. Maybe one day you're actually not able to overcome it, but you just dust yourself off and you keep going. The mind is so powerful. The mind actually is something that words can train. Words can train your mind. What do you say to yourself when something bad happens? What do you even say to yourself when something good happens? Your mind can train itself to bounce back quicker. And so, and also actually, it's just the realization in general that problems happen, because that's something that we were not taught, that things do happen. It doesn't demean who you are as a person. It's expected. I wish that it was something that we were taught when we were younger, that things do happen. Things happen to me. Things happen to you. Things happen to someone from across the globe. Things do happen. But what will your response be? Your mind remembers your response from the last time. That's why I said that resilience is something that is practiced. Your mind will remember what you went through. Your mind will remember it, so that you will consistently and continuously meet situations. And that's what I was even saying about the whole concept of solution providing, that actually your mind will remember something, or the way that you encountered a problem and you overcame it. When you go through another problem, you're just like, hold on, I was able to do this the last time. This is easy for me. I can bounce back. I can do this. It builds a confidence inside of you. So the mind remembers how you responded to something before. It remembers, did you respond to this situation in fear? Or did you respond to this situation thinking, actually, this isn't as big as what I thought? Okay, let me throw something at you. Have you ever thought about your future? Have you ever thought about the future? And have you ever been scared about the future? Have you ever thought of something that was upcoming and it seemed really scary, but you got to it? You're here today. Did anything bad happen? Sometimes what the mind does is that it creates stories around a situation that has not even happened, based on what you've experienced environmentally, based on your culture. Culture, what is culture? Culture are the various things that you've learned over time. Culture isn't just, perhaps, you're from a particular country and you eat a particular food and you speak a particular language, but culture are all the learnings that you've and all the words that you've heard over the years. Maybe that you're a certain age, so you can't do this, or you're a certain gender, so you can't do that, or you can do that, or whatever it might be. And all these little words, all these little practices over the years are what makes you respond to situations in a particular way. But I'm here to tell you that you can actually build resilience. You can actually put yourself in environments and hear certain words that can completely change your mind and make you a stronger person, so that you can be an effective leader. Because guess what? When you are learning these things, you're able to then go and teach other people as well on how to train and build their minds. And again, mind is different to your brain, by the way. Brain is actually a mass. It's something that we can see. It's something that we can touch. You have neurosurgeons. They cut open the brain, and they obviously do surgical procedures on the brain. The mind, however, are your thoughts, your feelings, your your deep places that are trained with words. And the more you train your mind, the more you're actually going to be able to control your brain. And remember that the brain is what controls the body. So maybe you encounter a situation and the first thing you do is panic and you get yourself into a state of anxiety. Maybe you made a mistake at work and initially your first thoughts are just panic and anxiety. But you can actually train the mind to be resilient, to actually say, no, this is an opportunity for learning. I will not be beat down by this situation, because something could have happened at the beginning of your shift and it's completely thrown you off for the rest of your shift. But what do? You begin to train your mind to be resilient. And how do you even do such a thing? It's based on what you are repeatedly feeding yourself. You have social media, the feed. People who train their minds, or who are intentional about training their minds, are intentional about what they feed their mind. What is even on your feed as you're scrolling on Instagram? What environments are you in? Who are the people that you're surrounding yourself with? Are these people that are constantly in a panic state? Are these people who coax your emotions, that when bad things happen, they're the first person to say, oh my God, what are you going to do? They surround you with fear and panic. Or are you surrounding yourself with positive people that will be encouraging, that will actually tell you that, hey, a problem has happened, but it's not the end of the day, that it's actually going to make you stronger, that is actually something to learn from. So you need to really consider what you feed your mind. These are very important things, because if we're going to lead in the healthcare space, if we're going to be solution providers, if we're going to be innovators, it will take us having resilient minds, because guess what? There might be times when you're going to have to fight a system, that you're going to have to go against all odds in order to make a change in your environment. And you may come across opposition. You may come across people who have been doing something for one way for 20 years, and you're saying, no, that's not the way. That's actually not very good for the patients. That's actually not really good for the staff. And you're going to come across opposition. Are you going to be somebody who can keep pushing through, or are you going to be somebody who's going to just give up because somebody said no? Is somebody who is able over time, who's been feeding their mind the right things, who's been able to tell themselves that they can do it, they believe in themselves, that they're good enough, that will actually have resilience of mind. So what you repeatedly feed yourself is important. Will you repeatedly feed yourself with negativity, or are you going to feed yourself with positivity? Are you going to feed yourself with uplifting words? What you hear, what you see, are all things that are feeding your mind. So resilience is actually built before a situation. This is what I was telling you before, that lots of people, get to a problem and then they're quickly trying to build resilience. But it may just to be too late, because sometimes situations can happen so quickly, but you need to be able to think on your feet to quickly overcome. And that's why I'm having this type of conversation with you, so that you can actually come to a consciousness about it and begin to train your mind and begin to surround yourself in an environment. And this is time for me to pitch the guild, as usual. But the guild community are a group of people who are just positive towards each other, positive about making sure that each other are in the best of places, mind wise. Because guess what? If your mind is good, everything else about you will be good. That's just the truth. If your mind is sound, you will go and work that shift excellently. You will not be moved. You'll be able to identify problems and solve them. You'll be able to see the detail in things and be somebody who can actually bring value to the team, bring value to a patient, bring value to the environment. You're not tossed to and fro when difficult situations come. This is the one who has a resilient mind. So resilience and community. I have to say that because, again, I mentioned the guild community. Who do you surround yourself with? Who is in your immediate circle? who is speaking words to you. Be intentional. Be intentional with the people that you listen to. There's absolutely nothing wrong with excusing yourself from negative people. There's nothing wrong with that. And I know sometimes we can be sentimental because maybe you've known somebody for 20 years, you've known somebody for 30 years. But if you are somebody who wants to be intentional about your mind, if you're somebody who wants to be intentional about your success and being a strong leader, because remember, I told you that leadership is not a job title. Anybody can be a leader. A leader doesn't actually need followers to start off with. But guess what? As you're leading, people will follow you because you're somebody who is inspirational. You're somebody, people actually can see the battles that you faced and your ability to overcome that. They're actually inspired by that. So if you want to be intentional about ensuring that your mind is sound, you're going to have to be somebody who has to train your mind to be resilient, that has to train your mind to be strong. Again, as I mentioned, that comes with practice. That comes with constantly telling yourself that you're good enough. That means that you're constantly telling yourself that you're able. That means that you're constantly telling yourself that or even if, do you know what? Because sometimes as well, I'm not going to lie, sometimes you're not strong enough in mind by yourself. Sometimes you're not strong enough in mind. Sometimes things have happened that perhaps you've not built enough resilience for by yourself. But when you're able to surround yourself with positive people, when you're able to surround yourself with positive people, it actually, you can lean on them to build up your resilience. Trust me, I know there are so many situations that I've been in and I've literally not been able to, maybe get through it myself. But when I'm able to lean on somebody else, it gets me through a situation. And then that now trains my mind that next time I'm going through something, I can remember that actually I was able to get through it. The world celebrates, or we often celebrate people who did it alone. But human beings were never designed to recover alone. The fact that I have strength in something and somebody has strength in something else is enough evidence to show that we are not supposed to be alone. In fact, there's a term that says loneliness kills. People are not supposed to be alone because it actually affects and impacts the mind. Sometimes resilience looks like somebody just saying, I can't carry this thing by myself right now. I need somebody else. So community can actually provide perspective when yours is distorted. When you're looking at yourself, I had one of my young girls today took an exam and she didn't pass. She didn't get the grades that she wanted. And she said to me, I don't think I can do this. And I said, stop that. I said, stop. You can do this. You've got this. I said, focus your attention here. Focus your attention here. When in her mind, she's thinking, I can't do this. I was able to tell her, no, you can. You've got this. Why? Because other people have done the exam and they've got to the end point that you want to get to as well. So others can actually encourage you when motivation disappears. So if you are somebody who wants to lose weight and you don't have the right discipline or motivation to do that, what do? You go and get a personal trainer because they will be there with you when your motivation weans. This is a very practical example that I'm giving you, but it's to show you that you don't actually have to do resilience by yourself all the time. They can provide you practical help, accountability, which is key. They can even give you opportunities where you might have also not seen that opportunities lie. Somebody that is in your corner might be able to see an opportunity that you walked by that can actually transform and change your life. Somewhere, a community provides you with somewhere safe to be honest. Sometimes we need to hear the truth that actually helps us build resilience. Confidence comes from surviving things. So again, you've encountered a situation and it hasn't gone your way, but you've been able to overcome and bounce back. It builds confidence. You do it again. You do it again. You survived it. You do it again. This is why certain people are leaders. They're bold in their spaces. They don't cower at their mistakes because they know that they've been able to overcome it. They know that they've been able to survive it. And that also gives them an increased ability to take risks because they're just seeing it as, I've been in a difficult place before, we move on. That kind of mindset builds resilience. It allows you to get yourself into more daring spaces, but more daring spaces has better reward. Maybe you wanted to start your own company and you're wondering, yeah, maybe you started your own company and maybe you've encountered a business problem, but you've been able to resolve that problem. And then you encounter another one and then you're able to resolve that problem. And you just find that you're being more of a refined leader. You're being more of a high achieving business person. You're just getting better results. Your scars can actually become your receipts. Your scars become your receipts. You're just finding every time that you're just winning over and over again, your perception of problems become less and less and less. So my own thing is don't waste a difficult season. It's actually an opportunity for you to become creative. It's an opportunity for you to become creative, actually. A resilient situation is giving you the opportunity to find solutions to problems. In fact, sometimes in finding these solutions to problems can enhance your value times 10. Maybe you're just looking at a situation and you're asking, what can this situation teach me? Maybe you have poor boundaries. Maybe you're with the wrong people. Maybe you have financial weakness or you're missing certain skills. And by identifying these things, you build up your person and you become more valuable. So resilience isn't just endless capacity. It's not just taking on so much and just feeling burdened. You will burn out. You will burn out. You will burn out. There's a huge difference between I can handle this and I should have to handle this. You're going to have to know your limits, your boundaries. And that's why I speak so emphatically about community, because where you cannot do it, somebody can hold your hands to help you do it. This is what I'm trying to say, that resilience without boundaries, it becomes exhaustion. You will burn out before you know it. So remember I said that resilience is actually, what do you do after a situation has occurred? Your ability to quickly bounce back, your ability to come back. And sometimes, guess what? The comeback doesn't have to be anything crazy. It doesn't have to be anything dramatic. It's literally, okay, you've encountered a failure, you've worked hard, and you've overcome. It's as simple as that. Sometimes resilience can be boring. You know, you're probably thinking that resilience is like a superhero. Something crazy happens. The superhero encounters a villain, and then they fought, and the superhero, gets rid of the villain, and then there's this massive celebration, and the supervillain is standing like the superhero is standing like sometimes it's not that dramatic. It's often boring. Often it can just look like getting up tomorrow, that you're not down in the dumps, that you're actually able to just go to work and be happy, even though something bad happened yesterday. It's as simple as that. It could be sending another application. It could be reapplying for that exam that you failed. It could be just making another phone call when you were rejected yesterday. It can just look so boring and simple, but it's resilience. And the more you do that, the more you build up resilience. So I'll start to round up here because I think I've made it quite clear. But here's a simple framework, right? You feel, you frame, you choose, you move. I'll say that again. You feel, you frame, you choose, you move. You feel is that you accept or acknowledge what you're experiencing. Don't pretend. If you're going through a bad day, if you've had a patient that's complained, the other day I had a patient who was really rude. They were really rude. Um, and you just have to acknowledge that sometimes people are going to be rude. It's not personal. You don't know what that patient has gone through in their own day. You don't even know how the patient was brought up. You don't know how, but you're not internalizing it, but you're acknowledging it. You're acknowledging what you're experiencing. Don't lie to yourself that everything's okay. You're acknowledging the problem. Then ask what is fact and what is story. Because I told you earlier, you can create so much story around a problem. Again, I'll use the example of the patient. I could create a story that the patient hates me, they don't like me, I'm not a good pharmacist. Was it me? Did I do? No, the fact of the matter is that the patient is just being rude. It's a fact. They're just being rude. But are you going to now start creating a story? You're framing a story around it. No, look at the facts. Okay, maybe you dispensed the wrong drug and it was caught before it went to the patient. You're going to now start painting a story. I'm not good enough. I didn't learn well. You're painting. But the fact is that you gave the wrong medication. How do you frame a situation? Because that will also help how you respond to the situation. Then you decide what is actually within your control. Sometimes things happen and it's not in your control. There's actually nothing that you can do about it. But you just do what you can. Trust me, again, think about your own life. Think about the things that you've gone through and that you've just thought is the absolute worst. You're here today and everything is, guess what? Fine. So you decide what is in your control, and what's not in your control is not in your control. And then move. What's the next useful action? Can you resolve the problem? Do you have to pass the problem on to somebody else? Even if it's really small, identify what the next action is and just move. Sometimes move means just rest, relax. Stop overthinking things. Stop getting into your feelings and your emotions about things and then just cowering away or not approaching situation with confidence. Many of us are healthcare professionals. We've studied for years. Every year we're learning new things. Healthcare moves so rapidly. Every day requires you to study, to learn, to become better. But imagine you've encountered a situation and you basically undo all those years of learning because your confidence is knocked down based on a story that you've created around it, rather than looking at the facts, looking at what needs to be done next, and just going and moving. Sometimes you've encountered a situation and it just requires you to just put your hand up and just rest. And just rest. So here's some questions to think about. What has life taught you about your own resilience? Think about it. What has life taught you about your own resilience? How do you respond to situations? Because again, remember, we're talking about leadership. We're talking about becoming people who will be looked upon for solution providing, for innovating, for policy making. Would you describe yourself as resilient, and what evidence do you have of this? Remember that sometimes your adversity, the difficult times are your receipts. What have you gone through and you've been able to overcome? And if you feel like you're not a resilient person, join us, join the guild. Surround yourself with people who are like-minded, people who are solution providers. They don't cower away when problems come. They work together to get things done, to make things happen. So that's really what I wanted to discuss with you. Resilience isn't the ability to never fall apart, because sometimes you're not stronger than your problems. But guess what? It's knowing that falling apart doesn't have anything to do with where your story ends. You can decide the ending to your story. You can decide to overcome. Protect your mind, protect what you expose yourself to. Remember, the brain remembers failures. So if you're always accepting failure, your brain will remember that. And when you encounter a problem, it will just move you towards failure. But your brain also remembers success. Decide to be somebody who constantly leans towards success. And success doesn't mean that things will be hunky dory or that things will be amazing. Sometimes things will not. But your ability to overcome is actually success. Change the direction when you need to. Don't stay stuck. Keep moving. Keep moving. You just fix your mind and put it in a place. There's a famous line that I know that it says, fix your things or set your mind on things above. Don't set your mind on your problems. Set your mind on things above. Set your mind on solution. Set your mind on you are good enough. Set your mind on you've got this. And if you can't set your mind, be around people who can set it for you. So that's all I wanted to share with you on today's off-label podcast, Resilience of Mind. And of course, I'm always here to talk. Please follow us on the Guild Society. We are, of course, subscribe to our channel, The Guild HQ. You can also find us on our website, www.theguildcommunity.co.uk. Join this community. Become the leader that you were called to be. And I look forward to next week's session with you all. Have an absolutely amazing rest of the evening. Thank you very much.
Good transition.